Hello, folks. Hello, folks. Hi. My voice sounds a little raspy. It's fucking 3:30 in the morning. Can't sleep, but it's time to do the football breakdown. So I'm going to say this. Initially, when the whole Week 18 idea was thrown out there, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, okay? I really thought it was kind of more money, you know? NFL getting more money. I wasn't a big fan of the whole Super Wildcard Weekend thing either. I thought that was kind of bonkers. Because in my opinion, for years and years and years, they've run the whole, 6-team in, everybody else out in each conference. And the top two teams basically earned, a 1 week bye, a 1 week resting period. That was kind of the bragging rights. First and second seed in the AFC, first and second seed in the NFC, you all get a 1 week break. Everybody else go beat the fuck out of each other. Well, no. Now it's like, hey, top seed, you earned it. Everybody else, fuck right off. You get to play all sorts of games. And now they're adding Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday night game just for the fuck of it. And I gotta tell you, with all of that, I have now become a fan. And it simply comes down to exactly what the fuck happened in this Week 18 to really kind of change my mind, because holy God, was this dynamic as fuck. This season has been insane, to say the least. I think I've probably beaten that one home a little bit, to say the least, that this has definitely been kind of a bonkers run. Teams have just been all over the place. The standings have been all over the fucking board. And after it's all said and done, it's just been really crazy. And rightfully so. So we're just going to jump into this, okay? The two Saturday games were Chiefs at Broncos and then Cowboys at Eagles. Chiefs at Broncos. Chiefs 28, Broncos 24. And I mean to tell you, this was no guarantee game, because the Chiefs truly did not play very good. They just didn't. I'm sorry, I'm just fixing my notes here. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this. Anyway, the Chiefs just did not play very good. I really don't know what to say about the Chiefs right now. Honestly, they played the Bengals and were exploited in the secondary, and then they played the Broncos and then get exploited like a motherfucker on the ground. They now firmly have the planted 2 seed in the AFC, and that's great, but man, Spagnuolo has got to sort out what the fuck is going on with the defense, because all of a sudden, unlike the last 2 years, the defense is showing waning levels of weakness where it shouldn't be, where it's been really strong over an 8-week period. All of a sudden, they just fall on their ass. I mean, the Bengals are no punk team. When they're on, they're good. When they're not on, they're really not so good. When they played the Chiefs, they were definitely on point, and they showed it. But the Chiefs didn't play that great either, so... But the Broncos... I've said that the Broncos roster is good. They're just lacking a few parts, and now a coach as well. I think with a good QB and probably more of an offensive-minded coach, I think the Broncos could be a really dangerous component in the AFC West. But right now, I don't even know. But this is definitely a game that should not have gotten away from the Chiefs, and it really did. It really did. So... I don't know. Hopefully they sort their defense out, but we'll find out. But the Chiefs were also playing to win to get the number 1 seed if the Titans would lose to the Texans, which they had done in Week 11 as they lost to the Texans. So it wasn't like it was out of the reach and out of the realm of possibility, because the Texans have kind of semi had their number off and on for the last few years. So it's been a little bit of an interesting cat and mouse game between the Titans and the Texans. So the Chiefs were hopeful, but they got the number 2 seed, which tells you what happened in the Titans game, but we will cover that. Next game, though, Cowboys at Eagles. Cowboys 51, Eagles 26. Nobody blow this bullshit out of proportion. Yes, the Cowboys played most of their starters for quite a bit of the game, and it's because they kind of learned their lesson the last time they were in this position, that I think it was an interview with Ezekiel Elliott. He had said that they rested and they came in and felt a little rusty and they weren't right for the game, and they ended up not getting where they wanted to go. So they didn't want to do that again. And that's great. But they were playing against, first of all, an NFC East team that the Cowboys have seemingly dominated all season. And then secondly, a bunch of backups, because they were resting slightly banged up starters that they wanted to get rested up for their first playoff game. So, not really much to blow out of proportion on this one. Washington football team at Giants, aside from some dumbass fucking calls, and Joe Judge is now kind of on the hot seat with the team if he's not out at this point. I'd have to look for sure. Washington football team 22, Giants 7. Both teams are a fucking mess. We'll see what they look like next season, because there's no playoff significance whatsoever. Now, the Bengals at the eliminated Browns. Bengals 16, Browns 21. Big game of interest for me for the Bengals purposes on where they were going to be seated, because if the Chiefs lost, there was going to be a massive mix-up in the top 3 positioning. So 2 weeks ago, the Bengals unleash on the Chiefs and then crumble under their own divisional rival that is now eliminated from the playoffs, the Browns. I don't know how far this team can carry itself through the postseason. I really don't. They're just too up and down. But I guess we're going to see soon enough. But this could potentially be a really big issue, you know, as they screwed their seeding position and now who they're facing. We'll cover that in a moment. Steelers at Ravens, big game of interest, because if the Steelers won and an insane level of shit went sideways, which was possible but very unlikely, the Steelers could technically get in, or the Ravens could have technically gotten in. So they were both playing for an on-the-bubble position for things to go wrong, basically being the Colts losing to the Jags and either the Raiders or the Chargers winning, not tying. Steelers 16, Ravens 13. Steelers did just enough to get the job done, which is good. That's good for the Steelers. I mean, the Ravens have had such a fucked up season. It doesn't surprise me that they're not making the fucking postseason. Hopefully they can get themselves healthy, because I think the Ravens in a healthy scenario are extremely dangerous. So it is what it is. But the unlikely set of circumstances is soon to come. Not in this one, though. Packers at Lions, really nothing to talk about. They were sitting quite a few of their starters. Lions beat the Packers 37-30. I mean, it was, you know, Jordan Love getting a little fucking starting snaps. Aaron Rodgers got to rest his foot. It is what it is. Packers literally had nothing to lose in seeding, and this game literally had no bearing on the playoffs either way, aside from getting some minimal snaps for the starters. That's it. Here is, in my opinion, one of 2 games of the week. This one, game of the week, for every reason that is bad. The unlikeliness of something like this to happen is mind-boggling. The Colts at the Jaguars. Colts 11, Jaguars 26. Literally the worst team in the fucking league, who now have the number 1 overall pick. Damn near lost it, but have the number 1 overall pick. Again, because they're that bad, and they beat the Colts. If you want to talk about the biggest meltdown of the season, this was it for the Colts, to say the least. I mean, how the fuck do you literally kill your postseason hopes in one of the worst teams in the league? The offensive line looked terrible. Wentz was just absolutely horrible with ball security, and the defense couldn't stop a struggling Jags offense. Yeah, pathetic showing for the Colts season, and because of it, their season is now over. They get to sit on their couches and watch the playoffs. Bears at Vikings. Absolutely no bearing on the postseason seeding whatsoever. So I had literally no interest in the outcome, although I'm not surprised that the Vikings won 31-17 over the Bears. Another big game of interest for me was Titans at Texans, just for seeding purposes for the Titans, because Texans obviously eliminated because they were trash this season for the most part. Interesting spurts of life. That's the thing. Like, the Texans aren't a complete waste. And at this point, Davis Mills has actually proven that he's getting better. Especially in this game, he's getting better. This was nearly the worst case scenario for the Titans, and it may still be. The Texans have exploited them twice over now and given an idea to other teams on how to truly attack their defensive scheming. Now, will they? Probably not. a lot of people like to say, oh man, here's the blueprint on how to beat this team, but you still got to play it, you know? You still got to completely change everything about yourself to try to make it work. Most teams are just going to stick with their scheme and scheme according to what they know and what they know they can do. Time will tell with this, though, okay? It really honestly amazes me that they take an early lead and then nearly sleep on the Texans having a chance and nearly allowed them to come back for a fucking win in such an important game for getting the #1 seed. Yes, they got the #1 seed, 28-25 over the Texans, but they damn near screwed the pooch on that one. So I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but I mean, Vrabel at the end finally got kind of control over the team, but what the fuck, man? They need that 1 week off for Derrick Henry to be able to come back. That's what they need. It is what it is. Saints at the Falcons. Falcons have absolutely no fucking plausibility or possibility of getting into the playoffs, but the Saints had a chance. Unfortunately for the Saints, they couldn't stay in control of their own destiny by the time this game hit, and this game ended with absolutely no bearing on the postseason whatsoever, thanks to the 49ers game outcome. Hopefully they get their team healthy and they come back stronger next year because they've got a lot of potential on that roster if they can keep it together. Another game that I thought was highly interesting. If the Rams lost and the Cardinals won, the Cardinals would have been in the Rams' position in the top 4. Okay? Beat down Seattle Seahawks divisional opponent comes in at Arizona and beats them 38-30, leaving the Seahawks, I believe, in the 5 seed. We'll look at that in a minute. Truthfully, this is my thing, okay? This is the postseason concern. As you go in as the better team on paper and you can't beat the lesser struggling divisional opponent and actually allow them to just drop bombs on you the entire game, how do the Cardinals think that they're going to skate through this extremely stout top 4 seeds in the NFC playing the way that they have in the last 3 weeks? I don't know what the fuck they're thinking right now. I have no clue, but damn. Jets at Bills, another game of interest. It's a game of interest simply for the seeding for the Bills. Now, the Jets have had a couple of really standout games when nobody expected them to, and nobody had any expectation that the Jets were going to be anything other than what they've been for the majority of the season, which is bad. And to make matters worse, this is one of those games that just spelled upset on it, and the Jets started out that way very early, but then the Bills woke up and did what they did. They beat up a bad team. Bills won 27-10 over the Jets. No fucking surprise, honestly. I mean, they had a minor struggle in the first half, and in the second half they came back and just dominated the fuck out of Jets. But again, they've been beating up on shit teams all season long. They've been beating up on the good teams when they've been down all fucking season long. They've had one, in my opinion, they've had one convincing win over a team in contention, which was, what, a week or two ago? And yet again, next game, Panthers at Bucks. Panthers 17, Buccaneers 41. Now, that doesn't sound like it would be any shocker. Here's the hiccup, though. The Buccaneers were actually struggling early, and then they woke the fuck up and beat the living shit out of the Panthers. But the struggle was initially real. For a moment, for a quick moment, it was real. And then, poof, the Panthers did what they've been doing all the season and just fell on their fucking ass. I don't know what to make of the Panthers, honestly, because they started out with such amazing potential, and then just that whole organization just seemed to fall the fuck apart. So I don't know, Buccaneers won. Very interesting game again for seeding. One team with everything to go, one team with nothing to lose. Patriots at Dolphins. Patriots 24, Dolphins 33. Big game of interest again. What a damned interesting game too. The Dolphins have controlled their destiny in the last 2 seasons, have controlled the destiny of the last 2 seasons in regards to seeding, and boy did they put on a show against the Pats. If they could have pulled off more games like this early in the season, they could have been a real threat. The issue is the fact that the Patriots defense is showing signs of weakness against the run more than most this season. And the offense just is not built to play from behind. Considering their first opponent in the postseason, this could be a very, very ugly outing for them if Belichick doesn't shore up that defense really quickly. 49ers at Rams, another game of interest due to massive playoff implications. Because if the 49ers lost and the Saints won, the Saints were in, 49ers were out. 49ers 27, Rams 24. What? Game went to overtime. 49ers scored. Matthew Stafford throws a pick in the fucking overtime, ends the game. Like, what the fuck? The 49ers have just seemingly tried to have the number of the Rams this season. As of the Cardinals and the Rams, I don't know, man. It's like their own division has been a little weird. Everybody else is like, they're ready to dink and dunk and, excuse me, and beat the hell out of people. But I'll be damned if within their own division they've had some struggles. In my opinion, starting this game, I felt that this was two teams destined for the playoffs because I don't think anybody really wants to face the 49ers in the playoffs right now. They're coming in hot. They've had some ups, they've had some downs, but they've overall actually been playing pretty good towards the end of the season. The beginning of the season was not very pretty, but the end has been pretty solid for the most part. Not perfect, but pretty solid. So the 49ers bested their divisional opponent, and that's what I find very interesting for its postseason implications, because the Rams are stacked in so many ways. But if the Cardinals would have won, this would have been a huge change up. It just still feels like they've just added so many new components to the Rams that they're just still not clicking on all cylinders yet. I mean, for their sake, I hope that this next week they really, really, really work on fixing that. And finally, what I consider be the game of the fucking week, because this thing hinged on every level of series of unfortunate and improbable circumstances. The Chargers at the Raiders. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, the Steelers or the Ravens had to win out on their game, plus the Colts had to lose their game to the Jaguars, which was highly improbable in itself, but they did. And then these two teams one of these teams had to win, and no tie involved here, because if both these teams, if they would have tied, they would have both gone to the playoffs and the Steelers or the Ravens would have been out. Steelers won their game, so that left the Steelers sitting there hoping and waiting, and oh my God, I can't imagine, like, I'm a Pittsburgh fan of myself, so I was sitting there kind of cringing on it too, watching this entire game. This game felt like the fucking forever game, but it was so entertaining and so wildly insane. Again, what an interesting set of circumstances. These teams could have literally just tied the game at the end and both gone off to the playoffs and said fuck everybody else, and it did nearly come to that. Came down to a final 2 seconds left in overtime field goal for the Raiders to win 35-32. But I just didn't see the Raiders allowing another divisional opponent to follow them into the playoffs with this game. The Chargers came into the season with so much promise, and although the game was very all over the board for them, it was also one hell of a fourth quarter showing that they put on. My God. I think there were like 5 fucking fourth down conversions or some shit in the fourth quarter. It was fucking insane. I think they were like 6 of 7 fourth down attempts, and the only one that they missed was one that was on their own fucking 18-yard line when they were down like 3 points. That was the dumbest fucking call. I'm sorry. This game simply came down to which team could carry the entirety of the game. And that, my fellow beautiful friends, was the Raiders. Doesn't surprise me. The Raiders and the Chargers have both been very erratic, but the Raiders have been fairly strong at the end of the season. So now comes the interesting point, right? The interesting factor of it all. So the AFC, final standings of the regular season. Titans in the number 1 seed. Chiefs, the number 2 seed. Bills, number 3 seed. Bengals, number 4 seed. The Bengals slipped a little there. Raiders, 5th seed. Patriots, 6th seed. And the Steelers in the 7th seed. This also leaves a very interesting opening for... I'm going to move this thing real quick. Sorry. Just got to open something else up here. Got to open my stuff up. Sorry, I'm ill prepared as always. We know me. This also leaves the NFC with Packers at number 1, Buccaneers at number 2, Cowboys at 3, Rams at 4, Cardinals at 5, 49ers at 6, and the Eagles at 7. Records were as follow: Titans 12-5, Chiefs 12-5, Bills 11-6, Bengals, Raiders, and Patriots all 10-7, Steelers 9-7-1. NFC side 13-4 for the Packers and the Buccaneers. Cowboys, Rams were why I have that? That's stupid. That's definitely not. If I could hit the right fucking button, that'd be great. Just saying. Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, Cowboys and Rams were both 12-5. Cardinals were 11-6. 49ers finished 10-7, and the Eagles were 9-8. Here's where it gets cool. Very, very cool. So as we see the playoff picture. So on the AFC side, we see the Titans get their bye week here, right? So it's going to be Raiders against Bengals for the first wild card game. Bills and Patriots. So divisional game that we've seen before. Patriots got the first one. Bills got the second one. So that's going to be interesting. And then the Steelers at the Chiefs. And I find this one most interesting of all, truthfully. And the reason being is because the Chiefs absolutely embarrassed the fucking Steelers. Okay. I mean, fucking wholeheartedly embarrassed the Steelers like 2-3 weeks ago. It was three weeks ago. So I got a feeling that's going to be a game of payback right fucking there. Okay. Then we go to the NFC side. This is where shit gets really fucking cool. Okay. So we got Green Bay Packers at number 1. They get the bye. Arizona Cardinals versus the Rams, divisional game. Again, this should be a very, very interesting game. I find this one insanely interesting. Cowboys at San Francisco. Technically, I should say San Francisco at Cowboys, but still. The 49ers facing the Cowboys. What the fuck? That should be either really good or really bad for one team. I don't think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be one team dominating the other, personally. But I could be wrong. And then the Buccaneers with the Eagles. I mean, the Buccaneers have had their struggles with... The Buccaneers have had their struggles with the run game, okay? But I just don't see it. I don't see the Buccaneers losing to the Eagles. So, how do I see next week's playoff games playing out? This is so up in the air to try to even remotely give a good answer, because some of these teams are so fucking erratic. I have no idea what the fuck to expect from these assholes. I really don't. Like, I wholeheartedly, I don't know what to say. But if I had to throw out a random guess, please, for the love of God, do not bet money on this. Raiders at Bengals. I'm gonna say Raiders. My only reason being is because the Raiders' defensive front has an extremely good possibility of absolutely dominating the Bengals front. Now, the Bengals defense isn't bad. Don't get me wrong. The Bengals defense isn't bad. But they are not the Raiders front. Okay, they are not the Raiders defense. Now the Raiders secondary does have its questionable moments, but if the Raiders can get into the backfield like they have with so many teams this season, Burrow is going to get the shit beat out of him. So they had better make some very quick decisions and have him scripted very well for this game. If the Bengals can get a good scripted scheme together, then the Bengals can absolutely win this game, because the secondary is highly suspect for the Raiders. I don't have question marks with the Raiders offense. It's the Raiders defensive secondary. That's the part that's the big question mark, versus that Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. They just haven't built enough to protect Burrow. They've really put more into the defense and more into the secondary. Oh, I'm sorry. They put more into the defense than in the receiving core than they have into the O-line. So Burrow is still getting the shit beat out of him. So the Raiders have got a chance in this game. I don't think this is going to be just some blowout game. I mean, it very well could be, though. Don't know. I personally think that if the Raiders can play like they did last night, oh, good Lord. Oh, I think the Raiders got a chance to beat the Bengals. Just a tentative pick at best. Buffalo Bills at New England Patriots. This is the one that the Bills beat a team of contention. And this is going to be in Buffalo. Now, barring whatever potential weather may be going on, because that seems to be kind of the Achilles heel for Buffalo, because they seem to just abandon the run game at will, I'm going to say Buffalo Bills. I really am, because they seem to be very ill-prepared in regards to the run game. The Patriots seem to be very ill-prepared in regards to the run game, and unless they just do some magical shoring up of that, Josh Allen has the potential of feasting upon that defensive, on the Patriots defense, and just running all over them. So I'm going to go Raiders in the first game, Bills in the second game, and then the Steelers at Chiefs. I'm going to say Chiefs, and it's not a homer pick either. It's really not. I don't think that there is enough juice in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense to overcome the Kansas City defense. If they can get Big Ben making very quick decisions, and the Steelers defense shores itself up. Now, don't get me wrong. The Steelers front end, the Steelers defensive line is amazing, but their secondary has been horribly hit or miss this season. And they've been a little loosey-goosey with the run game. So my big question mark is that I don't think that Ben Roethlisberger has got enough to really get the job done against the Chiefs. Is it going to be as embarrassing as the first game? I mean, I don't know. They just haven't been that high scoring of a game. And the Chiefs just exploited the shit out of their fucking defense in the last game. So I don't know that I'm going to see a dramatically different outcome. I mean, I think the game will be closer, but I think the Chiefs still come out ahead on that. So NFC side, Cardinals at Rams. I mean, I'm sorry. If you look at the last 3 game track record, I'm going to have to go with the Rams. I really am. The Rams were 3 of 4 in December. The Cardinals were what? 1 of 4? They were 3. The Rams were 3-1 in December, and the Cardinals were 1-3 in December, if I remember correctly. I'd have to look again just to be certain, but the Rams have had the Rams have had really good games up until this last weekend. So in their last 5 games, they're 3-2. The Cardinals, I believe, are 2-3. I'm going to have to go Rams. I think the Rams are the better overall team. But that being said, the big what if, everything's tentative right now because this has been such a wild season. If the Cardinals wake the fuck up, I think they have one hell of a chance of beating the Rams. I really do, but I just don't see them coming out of their sleepwalking gameplay right now. And it sucks too, because that team is built, man. That team is fucking built. So I'm going to say Rams. Cowboys versus 49ers, or should I say 49ers at Cowboys. yes, home field advantage is definitely going to come into play because Dallas Cowboys fans are a fucking thing. No knock either. You guys are some passionate fucking fans. I ain't mad at you. Chiefs fans are too. I'm going to go for an upset pick here. San Francisco 49ers over the Cowboys. My reasons are this. The 49ers have been pretty damn good at slowing down the run. Not necessarily stopping it, but bending but not breaking. And that's one thing that Dak has been very heavily leaning on lately. Take the Eagles game out of the fucking equation. Please, for the love of God, take that shit out of the equation. They've been leaning very heavily, I mean very, very, very heavily, on the run game to support Dak. Which, given the backs that they have, I don't blame them, but still, Dak has been very easily rattled. The Chiefs game with the Cowboys, perfect fucking example. They just harassed the shit out of the Cowboys in that game, and look how that turned out. They fucking lost. I think the 49ers definitely have a chance at beating the Cowboys. So I'm going to say San Francisco 49ers. If the fucking Cowboys break loose on them, yeah. The Cowboys are not... The Cowboys are like the Patriots of the NFC. And it's funny to say that considering Garoppolo used to play for the Patriots as backup QB. But... they're not built to come from behind. They are built to sustain and keep the offense moving. So if they stay ahead of the Cowboys and just control the game and control the clock, I think they have a very good chance at beating them. But if they fall behind, I don't see it happening. The last game, Buccaneers with the Eagles. As long as the Buccaneers shore up their fucking run defense, I don't think they're going to have a problem in the fucking world beating the Eagles. Sad fucking truth. Even though the Eagles have been coming on very strong, they're definitely a one-trick pony in many, many respects. It's not to say that they don't pass the ball. It's not to say that Jalen Hurts is crap. It's really not. I think that Jalen Hurts still has some more to grow, and that's that. So the only other thing that I want to show here is I made a prediction. And I don't remember the exact date here. Chiefs win-loss prediction. So my Chiefs prediction, and I typed out the entire game schedule twice over, because people ask me, you know, they've asked me in the past, you know, because I used to do family pools, for the lack of a better way to put it. Just friendly bets. You know, somebody loses, we buy each other whatever sports gear the other one's wanting, things like that. No money really involved other than, here, go buy me a jersey or something, you know. I made this prediction on the 4th of August. Now, the italics, you'll see this in the list, okay? But the italics signify the the questionable games, the games that I thought could kind of go either way, okay? And then the underlying picks are the ones that I was incorrect on. Now, the top is my prediction, as you'll see here in a moment, and the bottom is the actual. So I don't know how well you can see this or not. But I had the Browns as a win, Ravens loss, Chargers loss, Eagles win, Bills loss, Washington win, Titans win, Giants win, Packers loss, Raiders win, Cowboys loss, Broncos win, Raiders win, Chargers loss, Steelers win, Bengals win, Broncos win. I had them predicted for 11-6. Like I said, this was 8/24 of 21. I actually did it at about 11:30 at night. That was my prediction. And as you see right here, I am predicting they are winning. As of the 10th of January, I'm predicting that they are winning against the Steelers. The actual, they beat the Browns, as I predicted. They lost to the Ravens, as predicted. They lost to the Chargers, as I predicted. They beat the Eagles, as predicted. They lost to the Bills, as I predicted. They beat the Washington football team, as I predicted. Oh, they lost to the Titans. Mishap number 1. They beat the Giants, as I thought. They beat the Packers, but that was with no Aaron Rodgers, which is, I was assuming they were going to have Aaron Rodgers, which is why I had that as a loss, so I was incorrect with that one. They beat the Raiders, as predicted. They beat the Cowboys. Oops, missed that one. They beat the Broncos, as I thought. Beat the Raiders again, as I thought. I suspected they were going to lose to the Chargers twice this season. They only lost once this season because they beat them in the second one. The bold shows again that my picks that were incorrect. Steelers, they beat. Bengals, they lost to. Oops. Broncos, they beat. Actual record, 12-5. Predicted, 11-6. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Wrong. It is what it is, right? I'm just saying, I'm not perfect, but I'm usually pretty good in the preseason about picking what the hell I think is going to happen. But I do question myself, which is why I had things like that in italics. Because the Ravens, being as dynamic as they are, have a very good chance at beating them. The Chargers, dynamic team. And early in the season, nobody really knew how much more short up they were going to be from last year. The Titans, they tend to just keep close games. You never know what the fuck the Chiefs and the Titans are going to do. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers, and Davante Adams are a hell of a combo, and that's not even taking into account their run game or their defense. The Raiders, you never know what the fuck you're going to get from an AFC West game, especially when in regards to the Chargers and the Raiders. The Cowboys, I had it as a loss, and the reason being is because I had the expectation that Dak Prescott was going to look pretty good. I was very tentative with my QB stat rating at the end of the season as far as where Dak was going to be sitting. He's much higher, I believe, than what I had him set at. But at the end of the day, my general thought as to picking that game as a loss was very simple. If they lose, it's going to be because Dak Prescott played well, you know, and fed the ball when needed, but passed all over our defense. And the sad truth of it is our defense was just starting to wake up, and they just started beating the bejesus out of everybody. Broncos, I didn't see much threat there because even with Bridgewater being their quarterback at the time, I didn't see much threat there. The Raiders, again, another questionable pick because the Raiders can be really good. The Chargers was another questionable pick because, again, they can be very good. And the Bengals, I just had this feeling in the preseason that the Bengals were going to be much better this season, and they have been. This is a very, 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 very intriguing postseason coming up. So, yeah, thanks very much. It's been the Week 18 breakdown. So the next one is going to be the Super Wildcard Weekend breakdown. And holy Jesus Christ. This is going to be crazy, man. I mean, you can hold this to the gospel. You can take it as tentative picks, however you'd like. I don't really give a shit. It's not like I'm telling you to go bet money or some stupid horse shit like that. So, folks, I'll catch you next week, all right?